Hey guys, AJ here, back with another live for it. It's been a while since I did a live. I've been out in the streets, trying to spread the good word of, you know what I'm saying, and trying to fight back against all this foolishness. So I think that the last live that I had was, can you be on the left or be a Democrat and be pro male slash men's rights slash red pill? And I think that the answer was a resounding no, which was good. So, and I can stick with that and say I don't believe it, guys. I've told you that I'm more of an independent. I'm not on the right or the left. I vote based on issues, right? So I don't claim either party. Because all in all, if you work for a living, you're gonna hate both parties. That's just the way that I feel. So um, before we get in this, guys, please remember to like, subscribe, drop a comment, like the stream. It helps to keep this channel going. But today, guys, I have a treat for you. We're gonna do a live. We have an interview. I have my friend Alex, and we're gonna talk about the rise of Christian feminism and how it's kind of affected society and traditional values and dating. You know what I mean? And yeah, Alex. So wait. So for those who don't know, my name is AJ. I'm allergic to BS. I'm a red pill guy. In my 40s. And I've just seen society change into this misandrist kind of man-hating uh, wonderland, clown world we're in now, right? And the thing is, it's not working. And guys, all my mantra is we can only change the laws in our mind, right? It's going to take men walking away from this foolishness for society to actually change. You know what I mean? Or just banding together and saying, look, this is the way that we want things done. We're not going to start movements and burn down whatever. We're just going to silently vote with our feet and our wallets. So, yeah, Alex, you want to tell my listeners about yourself?
You bet. Thanks for having me on. My name is Alex, like you said. I'm a pastor in a small church in a small Midwestern town, non-denominational evangelical church, and no need to get too much deeper than that. But uh, conservative in my Christian beliefs. I believe what the Bible teaches, especially in regards to the roles of men and women. And I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing that AJ likes to point out, they're problems that a lot of Christians recognize as well. And it's not stuff that Christianity has been silent on, and it's not stuff that hasn't been taught on and addressed in the past in the Bible, things like that. But I'm glad that you have me on to share some of my perspective on this stuff.
Yeah, and so I want to give Mike on the background. Is this? I'm not really religious at all, right? But I respect people who have beliefs and they stand by them, right? And it seems like a lot of people they they claim things, right? So like I've noticed that there's a lot of people who will claim Christianity. They're convenient, right? Christians, so they'll just claim Christianity, which I don't judge, but then they just don't live it, or they use, or for instance, with the further on in our conversation, this Christian feminism thing, they weaponize what's laid out in pretty simple text, right? And it's being used for a certain agenda, right?
Yeah.
And then they use it to kind of in this kind of insidious way. So I have no issue. Like, I have subscribers all around the world that are, all types of Christians, Muslims, whatever. That's fine. But the thing is, I appreciate people where when they profess that they believe in something, they are consistent and will stand by those beliefs. And oftentimes that's not just happening anymore. So so Alex, I guess the first thing that we could talk about is uh I'm gonna pull up an article here. Let me share
Yeah.
my screen. And there's a lot of these articles you and I had talked offline about men leaving the church, right? Oh, so
Mhm.
over the last 20 years, a lot of secular and Christian um, um, publications have been talking about why men are leaving the church. So those men who are Christians will practice, but they just don't like going to church. And a lot of it is because they feel like there's this prosperity gospel, the whole Joel Osteen and who's the other guy? Creflo Dollar.
There's a whole bunch of them.
What's the what's the big guy, the black dude?
um, well,
Um,
I know Creflo Dollar is one of them.
um,
I think I have who you're talking. TD Jakes.
yeah, TD
TD
Jakes, right?
Jakes. Yep.
And what happens is that, you know, my mom's from a small town in Alabama, and when she went to church. It was all hellfire and brimstone, and it was basically like because the church was where was the focal point of the community, and in Jim Crow South, us being black, that people had to go there and actually like seek guidance, and people voted there. It was like the focal point of the community, so there had to be order, structure, all these other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but now that's shifted to you can do whatever you want and come in and dance a little praise dance and everything's cool. So like God has become this like intergalactic Santa Claus now, right?
Yeah.
And that is, we can see here that they're saying that one of the reasons why is that manliness has left the church.
Yeah.
And then it says church is a woman's thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of of these new pastors cater towards women, which leads to this rise in Christian feminism. What do you think about that?
Well, going back to what you said before regarding people who will call themselves Christians, and really you won't really see that. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, being a Christian is still kind of the default thing, right? It's moving away from that, but you ask most people in the United States, "Oh yeah, I'm a Christian," and they've never set a foot in their church. They just know, "Oh, I believe in God, therefore I must be a Christian because that's what my family was, I guess." So I think that's part of it, right? Christianity is just the default in so many people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
And then another part of it is, and kind of what you talked about, people taking the name Christian, but then applying to it whatever they want, right? And that's where you start running into the Joel Osteen, Creflo Dollar, things like that, where you're not going to find a single thing like that in the Bible and in Christian history or anything. It's a rather new, unique thing. But getting to what you were this article, what you're talking about with
where are all the manly men? They're saying, look, that all the tough, earthy working guys rarely come to church.
Yeah.
High achievers, alpha males, risk takers, and visionaries are in short supply.
Mm-hmm.
Adventurers are underrepresented, and it says basically today's church-going men are humble, tidy, dutiful, and above all, nice. So yeah, they're trying to say like only all the guys that you would want in any type of community or movement to lead the way are just not even going anymore. You were saying?
Yeah, well, I think part of it as a whole has to do with just the secularization of society as a whole, right? Like I said, Christianity is moving away from the default, but then on top of that, just being a man and having that understanding of men is demonized in a sense, and it has a lot to do with the feminism of our history, where men are kind of viewed, huh?
Can you say feminism instead of the actual word?
Yeah, gotcha.
The algorithm.
Yeah. Wouldn't want the algorithm to get us, but the feminism, right?
Uh-huh.
A big part of that movement is saying, hey, men, because there are different roles that men take, they, I guess, are better. Therefore, our goal is to be exactly like them.
Yes.
And that's the goal of feminism. And part of that, well, you have the one end of it pushing up. There's also going to be pressure on the men pushing them down.
Yes.
Trying to right? Ephemize them, right? So,
well,
I
So
think
here's
that's a
the
big
thing,
part of it
coming
too.
from a more secular standpoint too, is this like people need motivation, right?
Hmm.
People need motivation to better themselves, right? And in every front, like it, I feel like there's a group of people, no conspiracy theory stuff, but there's people who are successful, right?
Uh-huh.
And all through life, I mean, all through the history of the United States, we had to overcome obstacles because we had to eat. You know, we had to build homes. We had to do things. There was a more tangible life. I mean, like impediments to a good life, right?
Hmm.
So they had to teach everyone how to be successful because so they could live, right?
Hmm.
But now, and oftentimes it was the church and other things that would teach people the gender roles and the ways to succeed, right?
Yep.
But now I feel like they're intentionally not teaching people how to win anymore. Think about the whole traditional roles that have got us to where we are today, right? In the last 120 years, where we are now.
Yeah.
Why is that being discouraged now? And it's honestly, I believe that it's there's money to be made off of effeminizing men and then making women more masculine and then getting rid of the roles that are talked about in Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Most of these things where women do what women do and men do what women do. I mean, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
families don't spend a lot of money on things. They spend money on the family, but single women, you see the stats, spend more money than anyone else, you know?
Hmm.
So I think that it's I think that it's more than just a secularization. I think
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying that's
because
the only
well,
thing.
like,
That plays a role. Yep.
yeah, but and you are correct. But the thing is they are also taking the church itself and making it more nebulous. You know what I'm saying? Like making what it stands for more nebulous. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. There's been a big, yeah, especially I think in the last century, the church has been less about the eternal message that it gives, and more about life here. I guess in this life. Not that
Mm,
that's not an important thing. Not that that stuff like that shouldn't be addressed,
mm,
but the main focus of the church has shifted in many ways from eternal things to temporal things, things
mm.
just in this life. And I think that's a big part of it. And a whole bunch of other issues. Well, look at all the issues that we're dealing with. It's all about that reality.
Well,
The health and wealth movement, right?
yeah, mm,
Live your best life now.
yeah.
That's the famous book by Joel Osteen. And you're
Isn't
looking at.
that such a female thing to say? Like
uh,
that title. Like think about it. How many of these modern women do you? I'm living my best life now, right? Like that's what you hear is like the mantra of the modern woman, right? And
well,
like
yeah. Uh-huh.
and this guy is in charge of one of the biggest churches in the United States, and that's the title of his book.
Hmm.
Make that make sense.
Well, I think people have been convinced that the natural roles that they have, the natural role of a woman, that's almost a form of slavery,
Yeah,
right? And
that's
then
true.
to get out of that natural role and basically be like a man, right?
Yes,
The,
yes.
the, the view is men are free, women are slaves. Therefore, for me to live my best life now, I don't live to my fullest as a woman, but I live to my fullest trying to emulate men.
Yeah, I have a good kind of analogy because I say this that back in the day the Fenists they just like back in the day me being black, a lot of American blacks thought that everything white was better. So white ice was colder than black ice. You know what I'm saying? The white neighborhoods were better, right?
Yep.
Fenists honestly thought that everything masculine is better. And
Hmm.
I say that imagine that there's a bunch of women just sitting around in a rock quarry, and there's medium size, small size, and large size men lifting rocks, big rocks, right? And the women are watching the men saying, "Wait a minute, we want to lift rocks too."
Uh-huh.
So then the quarry overlord goes, "Hey, you guys can lift rocks." So what do they go and do? They go lift the heaviest rocks, and all of a sudden they're all burned out, stressed out. You know what I mean? And they're like, "This isn't fun. This isn't fair." What do you think? Men were having fun working ourselves to the bone and doing all the hard jobs, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you think we're having fun doing this? It's a
Well,
complete lie. You
yeah,
know?
exactly. And life isn't easy for anyone. No matter where we're at, we're going to have our own difficulties, and that also comes with the gender we were created as, right? Uh,
She
it,
belongs to the streets. You are correct, man. So the whole Kim Kardashian thing, I would say that it started before her. So it really started, especially in the black community. This started in the '60s and the '70s, but in the '80s, the late '80s, really did it because with affirmative action, black women counted as a double minority, right? So a lot of the corporate jobs that were going to men of other races, Asian men, Hispanic men, Arab men, black women got those jobs. So that's where the whole strong and independent, I'm a corporate or whatever, came in our community. And then you started seeing movies like Boomerang and all of that, where that talked about that culture. It got really bad with social media and Kim Kardashian, yes, but this has been coming for about, I'm going to say, 30 years now. What you were saying, Alex?
well, just to add to that point, when you put it in perspective, it's a kind of a pretty bad trade. Now, like I talked about before, so many people view the traditional role as a form of slavery. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta raise children and raise my family, and love my husband, things like that. And but then they think, oh, instead of being at home serving one man who loves me, who takes care of me, and raising a family, I'm instead going to go serve a corporation, a man
Yeah,
who's in
who
charge of a
doesn't give a damn
corporation, just to
a
make some
darn
money.
about me? Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, what convinced people that that was a better alternative?
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. Look at that. More than 90% of American men believe in God. 5 out of 6 call themselves Christians, but only 2 out of 6 go to church on a Sunday. So, okay, I have a question for you, my friend. Um, when okay, do you believe in the natural order? Was it God over Christ, Christ over man, man over women, women over children? Correct.
Well, yeah. You can probably put it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
God is the creator of all things, right?
Mhm.
God, three persons in one God, the doctrine of the Trinity. That's how we understand God. And yeah, man was first created. Again, not men aren't independent from women. They're both corresponding parts to one whole, but
Mhm.
men was created as the head over that woman, and then the parents are heads over their children,
Okay.
right? So there's a hierarchy just
Mhm.
built into creation itself. So
So, okay, there's a big discussion about our in the black community about the word submission, right?
uh-huh.
Because according to the Bible, the wife is supposed to submit to the God and her husband. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
so as a non-black person, what do you think? And you are married, correct?
I am married, yes.
Can you explain to any of my black male subscribers what your interpretation of submission in a marriage and submission is?
Sure. Well, the place where that language comes from, be subject to your husband, submit to your husbands, it's written by an apostle. His name is the Apostle Paul, right? But he's writing to a local church, and he says, and really what he's doing is he's saying, wives, be subject to your husbands as you are subject to the Lord, right? It's not a bad thing to be subject to the Lord. All Christians should at least claim that, yeah, I am subject to the Lord, meaning that he is the one who has the ultimate authority in my life, meaning he is the one who takes care of me. He's the one who guides me, and I will submit to his guidance rather than go my own way. And in the household, it is simply saying that, yeah, the husband, just as the Lord is Lord over all, head over all, within the household, within the marriage, the husband is the head, right? And and that's the instructions he gives. He says, the husband is head of the wife, as Christ is head over the church, he himself being the Savior of the body. But
Yeah.
as the church is subject to Christ, so also wives ought to be subject to their husbands in everything. Now,
And so the reason, so there's there's two reasons why I had asked
uh-huh,
that quite cool question. Reason number one, there's this crazy thing where you we mention the word submission, and you look all over social media, and these modern women lose their minds when they hear the word submission, right?
mm-hmm,
And what a lot of young guys are waking up and understanding is that, there's still traditional women out there, be they in, in the rural parts of the United States or different parts of the world, that are raised to believe this, and that they don't have to deal with modern women who are going to argue, scream, and yell. Right? There's no
mm-hmm,
reason why any man that's going to choose to take on a woman and is should not expect to have that type of relationship.
mm-hmm.
And what people that they don't understand is, like, men submit all the time. Think about it.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you're in the military, right? How you see thousands of men willfully submitting to a general. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly.
Like, and
And
he's not lording over. It's just you put the trust in him to that he knows what he's doing and to make the right decision. And question number two, and I want to kind of lead the conversation here, because I'm going to pull up this video.
yep,
My issue is that people, they want to kind of, was it dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge?
dodge, duck, dip, dive,
Yeah,
and dodge.
then put this feminism stuff in there. Do you think that the modern woman third wave feminism is compatible with Christianity at all?
Well, it is in complete rebellion in so many ways, just to the creation itself, right? If God is the one who created, and he created things in a specific way,
Mm,
in feminism is saying, in a sense, I don't like how God, the ultimate authority in all things, created me, then yeah, it really isn't. And I'm not saying that there can't be a genuine Christian who follows that, but they're being very inconsistent,
yes.
and they should be called to repentance, is the biblical term, to change their mind on that,
Mm.
and bring themselves to submission to the word of God.
Here's a video here, and this is a doozy, guys. Why I am a Christian feminist. Are you ready for this, Alex?
Yeah, I heard that, and my first thought was just, yeesh.
And the thing that irks me the most is, look, like I said, why even call yourself a Christian then? You know what I mean? If you're gonna, how do you have this cognitive dissonance to try and shove this foolishness and then call yourself a Christian? And this is coming from a person that's not a Christian. You know what I'm saying? But the
Uh-huh.
thing is, I have friends of mine who are firm believers, right? And to see what they hold to be true and how they act, and then look at these some of these people with, to even go look. You and I had a conversation about the black church, right?
Uh-huh.
And the fact that you can go into these churches, and there's nothing but baby mamas in the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, all you see is women and kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then Pastor Pork Chops up there dancing, oh Lord, you know what I mean? And then the choir director, has some sugar in his gas tank,
Yeah.
but that's all you see
Yeah. And
is in the church now. You know what I mean? And I mean, how do you handle it?
well,
Like, how do you? Yeah.
if there's no man present who is there to protect his wife, right? That was the failure of the first man, right? You look back to the story of Adam and Eve, and Adam's failure is he failed to protect his wife from the serpent. And if the wife does not have that man and his wife either, and again, the woman will always have a man, whether it is going to be her father or her husband, but their role then is to offer protection. And
That's true.
the Bible says something interesting, and I highlighted this. I thought of this. Speaking of
Facts.
false
There you
teachers,
go.
yeah,
Hilada says if Christianity is based on the teachings of the Bible, then feminism is the opposite. And then let me see, where's the other one? He said without women pick and choose from the Bible, Quran, or Torah. That is true. They do the cafeteria Christianity. I'll have some of this. I'll have some of that. I'll have some of that. It's like, if you want to do that, fine, but don't use that title on yourself. That would just be like me saying that I'm a Democrat, which I'm not, and then saying that I believe in all this Republican stuff. Why even have the title? That's what I
yeah.
don't understand.
And that's what Christians have been trying to figure out for a while. And when I say Christian, I typically mean those who actually hold to Christian beliefs. But but going on what you were saying about women, one interesting passage, a warning against men who are lovers of self, lovers of money, says that among them are those who enter into households and captivate weak women weighed down with sin. So women in many ways are targeted by these false teachers, these lovers of money, these the prosperity gospel stuff. And again, why is it that they're a target? Well, they're a much easier target, and that's just the reality. So
She Belongs to the Street says Church of England said God is gender fluid now. Dude, clown world.
Yeah.
Look, and this is coming from a guy that's like I said, I'm not religious at all, but I pay attention to what people say that they do and what they believe. Right? If a person completely just believes in foolishness, right? Like, I can respect anyone that proclaims their beliefs and sticks to them. That's because people who have principles, you at least know where they stand, right? Mm-hmm. But this foolishness going on now. But let's just jump into this video real fast.
Every woman who calls themselves a feminist will define it along certain tracks. So for me,
of course, because the new thing to do, these modern women, is they make everything variable, right? So, well, it's my own path, and it's my own this, and it's my own that. It's my own version of feminism. It's my own version of Christianity. Have you heard this, Alex? It's a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, that while there may be truth to that, I think what they've done is they overemphasize that, and that's where you get so much of the modern worship music that you can replace Jesus with your boyfriend, and you wouldn't have to change anything else in the song.
And they throw out, look, every relationship, friendship, marriage, there should be guidelines, right? So you talk it out, whatever. And to me, like, and this is from the outside looking in, people, the Bible is supposed to be the outline of what your relationship is with God and Jesus, right?
Well,
so how can you say when you have the rule, the boundaries and the outlines there, that your relationship's more important than that? It's like, well, no, this is the type of relationship that you're supposed to have, and it's all. And I never hear men saying that. I never hear men saying like. It's my relationship, nothing else matters. It's like, whoa, wait a minute,
Yeah, and I think you said it. How do we know God? Well, we know Him through His Word, through the Bible, right? It's like me saying, I know you because of from what I've read somewhere else. Therefore, I know you, right? Rather than my direct interaction with you, and that wouldn't make any sense. Right? If we had never talked, but because of things that I've maybe read, and I started talking to you, and I said, oh yeah, I know you, we're pretty good friends. We've known each other for some time. You'd be like, what are you talking about? And I would say, oh, well, based off of this other stuff, or based off of ideas in my head, or whatever else. And that's why it's so important to when what Christians believe about the Bible, it's not just a man-made document or anything like that. We believe it's the the very words of God. That's how we know him. That's what he has spoken to us. And
Yeah, but apparently that's just too inconvenient for all of these women, and that's the best part about when Kevin Samuels was alive, but R.I.P. That he would turn the Bible on them because he
yeah,
was in charge of 3 different uh um singles ministries, right? So all of these women always try and turn the Bible on him, and then he would just turn it right on back. So let's just watch this real fast.
yeah.
Me, feminism is I believe God created male and female equal.
So what do you think about that, Alice?
Equal in value, but not equal in function.
And
right?
authority and function, yes. And even then, even naturally, like I would say this.
Well, exactly. And that's
if you have a car.
Sorry, go ahead.
If we both have farms, right? And I have a BMW station wagon and you have an F-150 truck. Yes, I could haul some of the same stuff in my 100 acres, but it's going to break down because it's not built to do that. Your truck is going to be able to do more work because it's built to do the work. And that's just the thing. Like, it's not that women can't. It's why why? I don't understand why they see men walking on skyscrapers and being 23 times more likely to get deleted at work and think, you know what, I'm going to do that too. It's crazy. Yeah. It's clown world. Here we go.
That Eve is given that wonderful word of being helpmeet, which is strong rescuer. And so for me, feminism in the 21st...
A strong rescuer.
Well,
so that basically means that she thinks that Adam needed to be rescued. Once again, is misandry. Subtle misandry, guys. Listen to the language and you can hear how they feel about men. Who are you saying?
And just some theological background behind that word, right? The word helper, yeah, God uses that word to describe himself, but there's a massive difference between God helping man and then God giving someone to man as a helper, right? If there is someone who is subordinate to me, my wife, she is my helper, but not in the same way that God is my helper. And that's what these people miss. But sorry, go ahead.
Essentially, as a Christian woman, is about speaking out against oppression of women and girls around the world. It's about showing that girls and women have the opportunities to explore all that God's given them. It means getting involved in politics and education and in church leadership.
Come on, dude. Alex, help me, man, please. Getting involved in church leadership. Okay, do you believe that there should be female pastors?
No, because of the plain teaching of the Bible that Christians up until about 15 minutes ago have recognized throughout the history of the church. And that doesn't come from, that idea doesn't come from Christianity. It doesn't come from the Bible. It comes from this idea that men and women are identical, and therefore they should have identical roles.
But do you see how the insidiousness? Because the Bible says was it? I suffer not a woman to teach, right? And the thing is you see these, once again, I am black, so I can have an opinion on this. These churches, these mega churches, with these female pastors screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering. It's like, what is going on? I mean, what? How do you think that? Like, why do you think that it's so easy to ignore that part of the Bible?
Well, because they'll pit it against other passages of the Bible that speak of our all being one in Christ, right? And then they'll take that and say, oh, therefore, because we're all one, because a man isn't valued any more than a woman, because of that, therefore, we can have equal roles. So they'll make the Bible into mishmash by pitting two verses, even from the same author, against each other. So, and again, it's not because the Bible is teaching that, but it's because, hey, I have this idea, and now I need to find a passage for it. And that's where a lot of this kind of teaching comes from. It's an idea comes in from the outside. Now I need to find a Bible passage to fit that idea so I can justify it.
Well, I think that it's all about power, right? And the thing is that people want to find ways to get power.
Mm-hmm.
And they will twist and turn any type of religion, a philosophy, a political movement, anything that gets people in groups, and they all want to take it. But the issue with this part is they try and make it seem like A, it's accurate, and B, that it's in good faith, right? So like when you and I first started talking, it was in good faith. Hey man, how are you? Whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people who do this never do it in good faith ever. What do you think?
I can agree with that. There's a lot of subversiveness, and you see it a lot from, and I'm using this term theologically, not politically, but liberal Christianity, where I think they realize, okay, I'm going against the grain, therefore I need to soften what I actually believe as much as possible when I'm around those who I know would disagree with me. But then when I'm among common, people who agree with me, then I can go all out on it. Right?
Yeah, that's facts.
So yeah, it's I think there's a tremendous value in just being able to be upfront with what you believe. I'll respect someone a whole lot more, even if I disagree with them.
See, that's how I am too.
Than someone who's trying to come along and make themselves as agreeable as possible, only to then sneakily.
That's an opportunist. That's what I say. Yeah, there's the opportunists are the worst. You can be the most, name any negative thing against, but as long as you are consistent and I know where you stand, we could at least have a conversation.
But it also means respecting women, where their decisions of what it means to live for Jesus might land differently to me around issues like headship. So I think for me, it feels like
issues like headship.
Mm-hmm.
Misandry, guys. Misandry.
Generous open space. There are feminist friends that I have that we would feel very differently on some of the core issues that would define feminism in certain circles.
Of course.
But I feel that I can hold that word really closely. A lovely friend of mine, Natalie Collins, said that Jesus saved my life and feminism made sense of my life. And
do we want to hear that again, Alex?
Jesus saved my life and feminism makes sense of my life.
Oh man, delusion, clown
of my life, and I quite like. I wouldn't say as far as that for me, but I think for me, feminism has become a Christian feminist, become a space that I feel is life bringing to me. And as president of the Girls Brigade, I am invested in girls. I do want to see them flourish, and I think Jesus stands alongside me with that and says, "Yeah, come on." But first and foremost, I belong to Jesus.
Something interesting. She says, I want to see girls flourish. Well, she has a completely different understanding of what that means from what Christianity and the Bible would say, right? Where a feminism would say, an feminist, would say,
no
I want to see girls flourish, and that means they're going out and doing the same thing that men do.
Yep.
Rather than when you see women flourishing in the Bible, they are flourishing as women, not as men, right? They are mothering their children. They are teaching them. They are instructing the other women. They are being women, good, godly women. And there are different roles that we have. And again, they take the human experience and they just try to flatline it as one thing. Well, the reality is men and women are different.
Yep,
and
that's true.
Those are good differences. They're a blessing. The two become one, right? They're equal in value, but their roles are different.
Well, but here's the thing about traditional gender roles, because we can kind of transition there. Traditional gender roles give women a choice, right? Because you see all these women complaining about, oh, we're stressed out, we're working too hard, we're blah, 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 blah. You don't see men complaining. And then you see all these women. So what happens is, and I noticed this because I went to a really, really uh uh liberal college, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew all these girls that were lighting their bras on fire and F men and men are trash. And then all their 20s until they hit about 33, 34.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I want a traditional man and I want to settle down and I want some guy to take care of me and all this other stuff. I would say a good 95% of women want to get married and have kids. And when they do that, they don't want a dress wearing, you know, lipstick having dude in the house. It's not
Yeah.
happening, you know. But it's like, why do you even you label the guys that you want later on in life as being bad because they're traditional, and then once you get to a certain age, where have all of the traditional men gone? Because you correct me if I'm wrong. Traditionally, especially in the Christian faith, you were supposed to grow up and you were under your father's protection. And then what happened was that a guy would come, you know, who had some provision. He would say, "Excuse me, Alex, I would like to come court your daughter. You have a daughter of marrying age, right?" You said, "You know what?" And you would, you know, meet the guy, and you can see if you can smell the, you know, smell the bitch on him. Dude,
Mhm.
you know, you seem like our. And then he and your daughter would go to the malt shop and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? They would court each other, and then she would go from her father's house to her husband's house. And either way, she had a man that would be like, "Look, you know, you mess with this woman, either her father, her brothers, her uncles, or her husband, and they're gonna beat the crap out of you." They were gonna be protecting her, but that protected women for thousands of years. And now we have this revisionist history where if you ask anyone, they would think most women in the United States think that before 1963, women were getting spin kicked in the face and men were just oppressing women. It's like that's not how it worked. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I agree with you. There's a lot of revisionism going on, a lot of, again, painting the quote unquote traditional woman wife as being oppressed, and
Yep.
people don't realize. Well, again, not to get too theological, but the best way to live is the way that God created you to live. Right? A train, the best way a train is going to run is on the track that it was designed for.
Yep.
If it gets off the track, it's not going to work. And it's
But
the same
even
with.
having the choice to do so, that's just the thing. Because they say feminism's about choice, yet they shame women who want to live traditional. They want to get married, be wives, be mothers. You know,
Mhm.
and they big up all these single moms and all this city girl type of lifestyle. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and when if you go all around the world, women are happier because they're more traditional. Women now, you know this, are more miserable now than they've ever been since they started measuring the happiness of women, and they
Oh
are
yeah,
free
definitely.
to succeed and they're free to fail. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think of Kevin Samuels when you first saw his videos?
Yeah, I liked him. Minor quibbles aside, he spoke a lot of truth, and he spoke it in a way that a lot of people would be really afraid to speak it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of an amazing thing he didn't get canceled, but
Well,
uh,
there's some people that are just self-employed, so they're just uncancelable.
well,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Yeah. Howard says, "How can a woman be a deacon in a church? A deacon is supposed to be the husband of one wife. Has somebody call an ambulance for me and give me some smelling salts?"
Yeah.
But so this is a reaction to his video. We can kind of skip through it, but yeah, let's get into
Up,
this.
everybody? This is the Developing Dad podcast. I'm your host. For me, that would be mm, Christian feminist. So he calls them pseudo Christians. All right, that means they're false Christians, right? The apostles did this. The pseudo Delphoi. That's what they call them, false brothers. Okay.
And just as some background, Alex, the whole false Christianity thing is so nuts in the black. community that you will have these single moms, right? They're 35, 36, overweight, 3 kids by 3 different dudes. And then they will meet you and go, well, I'm a born again virgin.
Mhm.
And you have to wait until marriage. Because I'm walking in my journey now and blah blah blah. Or I sent you the other video where he's talking to the 45-year-old virgin, the 43-year-old virgin, where this woman's 40, 43, 44, and she still thinks that there's going to be some successful guy who makes $300,000 a year that she's going to find in the church who's going to wait to try and marry it and have kids with a 45-year-old. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
And, well, I think, you know, society as a whole has de-emphasized marriage, and
yes,
then it has
marriage
the idea
and relationships. Yes,
yeah, and then it has the idea of pushing it back as far as you can, right? The idea is have as much fun as you can, i.e., have as much sex with as many people as possible as you can until you're about 30, or however, and you're ready to settle down. When you know, that's not how we see it in scripture.
Yeah.
It ends up leading to a miserable life, which is why, you know, the whole born again virgin thing, that just comes from a whole bunch of guilt that they're harboring.
That's true.
They don't know what to do with it, so they come up with things like that. And it doesn't mean that someone can't be truly repentant of their past and things like that, but again, you know, it's
honestly, I mean, I said this once and everyone's like, you're a misogynist. Guys, to all the men listening, I don't even think that if you need to go to any type of therapy or counseling, get a male therapist or a male, any type of motivational, anything, self-improvement, anything, you got to talk to another guy. Religion, how can a woman honestly really tell a man anything about any, you know what I mean? Like, that just seemed odd to me that as a guy, there are guys who would consider going to see a female like therapist or priest, or it's just odd to me because the gap in understanding or the experience is just so big, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, not to say that there isn't a place for women teaching other women or children or things like that, but there's a reason that men in leadership, men in teaching roles and things like that is the biblical norm. And again, it just has to go with how we're built. And, you know, women are built to handle children, especially, which is, you know, why women are instructed to teach children and raise them and things like that. But go ahead. Sorry.
The thing about the red pill, right, about our viewing is I honestly believe that, like, there's no way that you can, I mean, being pro male and being red pill, it automatically puts you like alongside a lot of the tenets and a lot of the classic religious texts, right? Like because it's a practical way to think, right? Like, we had to survive as human beings thousands of years ago, right? So it's funny that being in the red pill spaces, there's men of all ilk that we can come together and talk about these issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we all agree. And if you don't, it's like, why are you even there? You know what I mean? So let me see what we can get into.
And Paul calls out Hymenaeus and Philetus, Phygelus and Hermogenes. So you see here, Kevin Samuels is not afraid to call out fake Christianity.
Facts.
All right. There's a lot of pastors, though, however,
he had about 8 or 9 videos called Christian Feminism, and they were like 3 hours long,
who will not do this, but he's actually going to recognize a false form of Christianity. Let's see what false form of Christianity he decides to call out. And you can probably figure out by the title of the video.
Christian feminists. It is just rampant with them. Dallas stinks with these women. They come in with their Bibles, talking good, and they running through the Dallas like Jezebels.
So he's
I miss him so much, man. I really do.
calling out Christian feminists. All right. So if you know anything about Christianity, you know Christianity and feminism. If you read your Bible, you know that Christianity and feminism do not mix. The ideologies are like oil and water; they don't mix. Christian feminism, the ideas of feminism have eroded Christian women's ability to be Christian, uh, so much so that it's almost become a sacrilege to do what Kevin Samuels is doing here in this video, right? He has more boldness than you'll find a lot of pastors having. He's willing to call out a woman. That's something you won't find most pastors being willing to do. Most pastors will not call out women. They will.
And why do you think that is, Alex? What is your opinion?
Well, I think a big lie that people are buying, and the Me Too movement is pushing it along, is...
Can you say M2?
M2.
Yeah, the algorithm.
that algorithm.
You don't want to get yeeted off of YouTube, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But a big lie that the M2 movement and things like that push along are women, and has to do with the critical fill-in-the-blank theory as well. But women, because they are in less of a place of power, are not as responsible for where they are at in life, right? So if a woman is in sin, well, the first thing that many people are going to look for, what are the oppressors on the outside? What are the things that might have led to this on the outside? But the Bible teaches for anyone, male or female, oppressed or not oppressed, sin comes from within, right? You can't look to the outside. But I think that's a big part of it, is this idea, and people probably wouldn't state it that way, but the idea that women are less sinful, I guess. And when they do sin, it's not always going to be their fault.
Yeah, that's true. It's basically infantilizing women, and that's a big thing in the United States nowadays, because we've talked about on this channel how women will straight up get the chopper, shoot up the whole club, literally, and all of a sudden they're like, well, what drove her to do this? Like the Andrea Yates, where she deleted her 4 kids. What drove her to do this? So there's always some excuse. You know what I'm saying? They treat women like children. You know what I mean? And it's always saying that there's that men are just bad, and women, if something bad happens, that a man drove her to do it. You know?
Yeah. There's always something on the outside to blame.
Yeah.
Hard against men, but they are deathly afraid, because we live in a feminist culture, of calling out women. And Kevin Samuels has actually made a name for himself doing this exact thing.
This is about a year ago. He passed away.
The errors of their ways. In specifically, and he's talking about the Black church. There have been, over the years, there have been an exodus, and it's not only specific to the Black church. There've been an exodus of men out.
But I would say that us Blacks, we are the canary in the coal mine. Anything that you see happens to us first happens to wider society. Men leaving the church, single moms, all this other stuff. It happens to us, and then it happens to whites. It happens to everyone else after that. So,
out of the church, period. But it's really damaging to the Black church, because our families are affected in a greater way, because we have so many wedlock births. We also have many of our men in jail. There's what he has to say.
All right, back over to you. At 42 years old, ma'am, if you want a man who's a Christian, and it's
42 years old and not married, and she's basically, if you listen to this whole call, she's talking like she's dating, and she's 21. She's 42 years old, past the wall. Probably can't have get kids anymore because menopause is going to start, and geriatric pregnancy starts at 35. So, like, what's going on here?
It's an important part. You need to really start working with your pastor or somebody in a church that has a thriving singles ministry, where you may have a better selection of men. Maybe even have to switch church homes.
So he lays it out for her. This woman actually says she wants a Christian man, but she's not working with her pastor. She's not working with the singles ministry. She was actually dating a man who was a member of another church, but that man was married.
Yeah, who was married. Yes, I remember this call.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Yep. And the thing is this is what the church is supposed to be for. And the thing is, like I said, and I like Kevin Samuels because he turns it around. And he says, "Look, you don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be. You know, it's like this is something that you should, choose to do. But all these rules, if you don't want to follow them, don't. But don't say you do and then show in your life that you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's hypocritical. What's the point of calling yourself a Christian if you're not going to try to follow Christ and what he taught?
True.
So,
so it's just so many Christian woman who finds
If that's
found is actually a wife. She's ready to be a wife. She's not becoming a wife.
And that's another thing that women have to be wives first, because you have to be a wife first to be found by a husband. That's something that a lot of black women, modern women, throw around. They throw around the whole, was it Ruth and
Naomi?
No. Boaz happened upon Ruth, but she was a wife first. She put herself out there. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
She has everything that she needs to be a wife already. She is a wife, and he finds her, right? So he's going to call her out on this, her inconsistencies. Let's listen in.
If that's really a determination, but at 42 years old, wanting children and all that other kind of stuff, man, it's going to.
I go back and forth with the children thing.
Okay.
Don't you love how these modern women act like they have a choice? Like, oh, well, I choose not to be married. You're 43. I mean, honestly, how much of a choice do you have? Men control access to marriage. We decide who gets married. So this cognitive dissonance, or this like, I need to make myself feel better by saying I choose to not be married. You're 43. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I enjoy my freedom, but
Right, man.
I enjoy my freedom.
I mean,
well, like I said, she can be free to have a burial plot all by herself.
I'll be honest, man. Are you really cut out to be somebody's wife?
See, and then he goes right to the question. The question is, are you cut out to be somebody's wife? Are you cut out to be somebody's wife? That's a question that you may hear men being told that, like, are you cut out to be somebody's husband? Right? But no one, you will rarely ever hear someone, a pastor or someone in authority in a church context, ask a woman, are you fit to be someone's wife? Right? I mean, that's foreign. That's sacrilege, right? You can't do that. You can't call out a woman. You can't call out women's flaws. This is why Kevin,
especially not in the black community, man. You can't do it, man. You will get canceled so fast.
This is why Kevin Samuel's page to know.
Oh, don't check that. Whoa.
There we go.
To account, but not women. And he's making. I mean, he's like, his platform is blowing up because he's willing to just call women to accountability. And you won't find that in many churches. Let's keep going.
Why would you say that?
You enjoy?
Why wouldn't I be?
You enjoy your
my freedom.
Oh, don't check that. Whoa.
Calm down.
Don't do that.
Lady.
Don't do what?
Why wouldn't you be based upon what you said? You enjoy your freedom. You go back.
Enjoy
and
my
forth.
freedom, being able to just come and go.
Still enjoying your freedom, not necessarily wanting to have a kid. You become somebody's wife.
Having a kid.
Hold on, man. As a wife, what is your job as a wife? Your number one job as a wife is being what? Especially as a Christian. What is a woman's role on this planet?
To cater to the man.
Nope.
And take care of his needs.
Nope. To be a helpmeet.
Mm-hmm.
Not to come and go as you wish. Not to have freedom.
There you go.
So he even goes back to Genesis, right?
And you know that woman, that feminist mindset, that burns her to the bone, like acid. Like remember the Joker had the flower that just, you know what I mean? And it's
no, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was done.
Well, I was going to say, and that just goes back to the view of marriage that people have in society today. They, in many ways, they see it almost like a business contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where two people go into business, they're completely equal partners. They may have different roles, but at the end of the day, they're the exact same, right? But marriage goes far beyond that. You know, it's something created by God, and each one has a role in marriage, and again, part of that role is bearing children. You know, God created, he said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. And that's another thing. People want to get married, but they don't want the things that come with marriage, which will include children.
Well, there's one thing that I can say that, and let me know if you've noticed this too. You ever notice how modern women use the term partner? I want a partner. Okay, that is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. Any guy out there, if you're on a date with a woman or you're talking to a woman, she uses the word partner, get up and walk away. See, Alex, if you and I were going to be partners in business, we had to sit down and hash out what we're going to do in a contract, right? Like partner is a non-descriptive descriptor.
Yeah.
It's a word, but it doesn't mean anything until it's assigned meaning. Which is fine, but how many of these millennials and stuff and younger people have the interpersonal skills and the communication skills actually stop and hammer out what those roles are? And then oftentimes you will have women who will say, okay, well, I want to be the breadwinner and I want to be this. And the guy goes, okay, fine. But then every day she gets up and she's going to work and she's making money and her husband's staying home and she looks at him and goes, you lazy son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like women don't naturally respect men that they can control. So this indoctrination of this partnership stuff, when I know women that are in these new age woo-woo types of relationships, but then they always look at women who have strong, masculine husbands, and they're in their feminine role, and they're jealous.
Yeah. Well, here, society, when you talked about, two people who decide, oh, the husband's just going to be a stay-at-home husband and the wife is going to be the breadwinner, and society will look at that and applaud. Well, how would society feel if what happens when the husband and wife are in bed and there's a bump in the night? How would society feel if that husband said to the woman, all right, I'm going to huddle up in bed. Here, you take this gun or baseball bat or whatever else it is and find out what's going on down there. Right? That's ridiculous. Yeah. It's like, hold on a second. That's not her role. But we're willing to apply it to that, but not to everything.
There was a young kid at my gym, and he's a younger guy. He's like 21. And I told him, I was like, look, like traditional gender roles are a thing for a reason. And he was like, well, I don't believe that. I said, dude, you have a girlfriend, right? And he said, yeah, but I said, so if someone broke into your house at night, you and your girl, you're gonna go down. No, you're gonna send her dead down there. And he actually stopped and he thought about it. And I'm like, and here's the thing about you, bro. It's like, life is gonna test your manhood. It just is, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So you can either pass or you fail. And if you fail as a man, I said, there's nothing worse than that hurt in your chest knowing you failed as a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are better off if some dude who's twice your size in your girl's face and he grabs her or whatever, and you gotta take a whooping for your wife. That whooping won't hurt as bad as not protecting your wife or your mother or your sister or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I know a guy where his little sister's like 21. He's like 26. And this guy at the bar was in his sister's face, and she's crying, oh, and and the guy was like, leave my sister alone. And he was like, and the guy just told him, shut up, and started laying into his sister again. He didn't do anything. So afterwards, I'm like, dude, that you have that hurt in your chest because you failed as a man. You know what I'm saying? But here we go. This is another article. Not so obvious reasons men are leaving the church. We can jump back into the whole dating thing. So feminization. So many men say the current church is designed for feminine taste. Everything from the decor, the worship behavior seems just a bit too girly for manly guys. Say one-way communication.
Getting back to that feminization, something that many people in the church are, and this has to do with just the whole message that the church is putting out. And many people view the church and our role as the church is, oh, this is just a big fat relationship and that's it. Well, Scripture doesn't present it that way. Rather, Scripture, the church is Jesus building his kingdom here, right? It's a conquest of Jesus. And men were built to take things and subdue things, not necessarily in a malicious way, but my house, I want to conquer my house, meaning if there's something wrong in it, I need to fix it up. And in the same way, Jesus, he describes what we're doing here as him building his kingdom. And you don't really hear much of that in the church. And that sounds a lot more appealing to men, does it not? Than just come and talk about your feelings and sing effeminate songs. So I think that goes along with it. But sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. It's there's a video here called "Jesus Made Me a Feminist." I'm so sorry, guys. I don't even want to play that. But I'm gonna drop the link and see if anyone else wants to come up here. But guys, like I said, this is not a preaching session. This is just talking about the feminization of religion and men, and it's how it's being used to push this modern ethnicist, emasculating type of culture. So, and once again, we have Alex here. He's a pastor at a church in the Midwest. I'm AJay, and drop that in there. And so we're not gonna talk about whose religion's right or wrong or any of that. This is more about just having the discussion, because honestly, like I said, I've seen a lot of my male friends who are dating, and these women, they will pull the Bible out more than anyone else and claim to be the most Christians there are, but nothing in their life matches up to what they say, which is fine, but just don't claim to be a Christian then, and then don't use the Bible to disqualify men and say, oh, well, he's not godly enough. Well, guess what? You have 3 babies by 3 different men. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to say, oh, well, I don't think he was godly enough because of, A, B, C, D, and E. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a... and you've been married for how long, Alex?
I've been, I have to stop and count. 5 years?
Right on, man. Congrats. It's, these people who... The whole dating thing, just like Kevin Samuel said, it's supposed to be easy in the church, right? Because the men are actually vetting men for you. So there is no, going out on the dates and wondering if a guy's going to be this and that. Like, the church is supposed to do that for you, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. We're called to marry within the church, within the body of Christ. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone from your own local church, but the Apostle Paul says not to be unequally yoked with the world, and that definitely applies to marriage. So, if you want a good husband, the first place you should be looking is your church.
Yeah. But then again, if they are going to say, profess that they are Christian, then they should be doing that. And my issue now is that people say they're one thing and then they do the other. That's the thing that just irks me the most.
Yeah, definitely. And
I'll
say part of that is probably the church not doing its job and holding people accountable and having actual discipleship, right? People treat church as just their Sunday morning entertainment, and that's about it.
You had sent me the video from this Alton Johnson guy. Let me share that.
Yeah, he's a pretty. I've watched. I followed him for some time. He's pretty.
But
pretty
you
good,
notice
pretty tough guy.
that he talks a lot about the black church and how and just a foolishness that's going on. And have you seen the Real Pastors of LA show?
No, I've heard a few things in passing, and
Yeah, where like all they got like private jets and diamond earrings, and it's just ridiculous, man. I don't. But the thing is, people they end up I mean, they wouldn't make it if people didn't buy it, right? You know, if they didn't watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not doing anything positive at all. So
no,
as far as
it's not. Yeah.
Keep going.
I was going to say it fits right into what I had said, what I'd read earlier regarding people who are lovers of self and lovers of money, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And they say they hold to a form of godliness, although they've denied its power. So on the outside, they may look like super holy people, like Benny Hinn. I don't know if you've ever seen anything with Benny Hinn.
Who's
but
that?
Well, he's one of the guys they play in. He played a clip of in that video. He's the guy with the coat, and he's waving it around. People are falling over.
Oh! He's that.
Yeah, that's Benny Hinn right there.
The power of God, take it, and everyone goes fall.
You know,
hits him with the Ryu Hadouken.
Yeah. Here's an aside. There's a hilarious video where they take Benny Hinn, but then they make it look like he's using Force Lightning, like Emperor Palpatine, and just blasting people over with it. It is so funny.
Oh man! All right, here we go. All right, Doug MPA, what is going on, my friend?
Hey, how's it going, my friends? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, this has been.
I can't say that. Is that Yahawada?
Yes, very impressed with you be able to pronounce it, man. People be at my job staring at my name tag and they see all the A's.
But you know what it
But
is,
you pronounced it the right way.
My friend. Isn't it funny that they can say Dostoevsky just fine? They can say Russian names and stuff just fine.
You know what's funny?
Like,
So
I work with a woman whose name is Russian AF, dude. And then I work with an African girl, and her name is Moronke, Moronke, and it's easy. And she's like, "Why can you not say Moronke, but you can say, Trodakowski?"
Right. And I mean, just for edification's sake, fellas, Yahawada is a variation of Judah or Yehuda or Judea.
Okay, so basically, what we're talking about is, like I said, not about whose religion is right or wrong. It's just as far as being pro-male, pro-father's rights, red pill knowledge. It's just that I've noticed in general that this effeminist, womanist type of mindset has been being used by all different types of religions now to tear down men, get men out of the home, make money off of women, right? And it seems like there's only like a small group of people that's like speaking out against this. And this is people of all, like I said, Alex is a Christian pastor. I'm not religious at all, but like that, I'm pro-male, so most of my traditional values line up with his. Doug MP, I don't know what your background is, and then I don't know yours, but all of us, I can probably agree that we see this effeminist, womanist, tearing down the family type of foolishness going on, and it's not good for anyone. So anyone who wants
I can say. I'm Black, and remember, in America, everything that happens in America happens to Black people first, and the worst. It's going to be out in the Midwest and everywhere, right? And there has been the Black church was the first to adapt to the social engineering that caused all this. The Black church makes money off the women being single. They take the men out, so there's only a small percentage of men. All these pastors saying crazy stuff, sleeping with the women, doing crazy stuff, and in real men in Black America, they just can't. They can't be a part of this foolishness. I think 75% of Black churches are women. 75%, and enough of us men are going to have to leave for them to want to change. But until then, hey, let it all go down the toilet. I think I'm agnostic, but I think that you can have a relationship with a higher power without going to an organized religion or church, especially having to pay for it.
Look at this. These are supposed to be pastors, guys. You seeing this? Look at this. Walking around like rappers and stuff. It's crazy.
Yep. You see that when Creflo Dollar got a $65 million private jet?
Yeah.
So
Alex,
why participate in organized
where's your
religion?
jet, man?
I know.
I know. I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm thinking, man, I need a raise.
Yeah. Where's your Cadillac?
This is crazy, man. This is absolute. What are you saying?
I was going to say, gentlemen, my position is that I do believe that African Americans, a large majority of them, are descendants of the actual biblical Israelites. I have bills with Christians, atheists, feminists. Me and some sisters was talking about reptilians literally the last time I was out preaching on the corner. So to my Christian brother, to my agnostic brother, and to the young man hosting this show, I just want to say peace and grace to all of you brothers. And you made a good point, brother, that's hosting this show. It's not about believing in the Bible. It's about recognizing when somebody lacks integrity. And if the Bible is masculine, if the God of the Bible is called the Father, the Messiah is called the Son, and all the nations in the Bible are named after the men they descend from, then it's pretty fair to say that the Bible is masculine, right? So the position that woman had in the video,
things ever written.
Yeah, the Bible is one of the most red pill documents there is
ever made. Yep, go ahead.
Ever made. And the thing
so based on that true fact that you guys all made, right? There are other schools of thought that honor the woman as the head of spirituality. She establishes the race. She establishes the rules. And when you look at the ancient Kemetic writings, right? When you look at like the 42 laws of Ma'at and what ancient Egyptians believed in, right? They lived in an egalitarian society, meaning women could own just as much property as the man could. Women could be pharaohs of Egypt. Women had just as many privileges as a man did. Even other cultures came and marveled at the fact that the Egyptians gave their women so much liberty, right? So my thing with that woman in the video is, ma'am, all you got to do is just put the Bible down. This is not even a hard problem to solve. Any woman that feels like that.
Yeah, but let me stop. Let me just stop you there. Because egalitarianism, right? Are we truly, like, we deserve to be treated equally under the law, right? But let's not get it twisted. If you Thanos snapped all the men away, boom, women would die. They couldn't maintain the United States we have it now. If you Thanos snapped all the women away, men couldn't reproduce, but we would have an abundance because the sweat, the labor, the on-site job deletions is what keeps this country going. If you are married, right, you and your wife, they said you have roles, but the man is supposed to make sure that if a situation's bad, his wife makes it out and he doesn't. And women have never in history been expected to pay the ultimate price to other than giving birth to keep society going. And that's why I say ultimately, especially in a society now in the West, where it's not like women just don't even appreciate men. They actively talk down on men. The very men that drive the trucks, keep the power grid going, get the shipping going, keep the water on. The very men that keep this going, this new feminist type of mentality that's in the church is saying not only are men, are we above men, but men are trash. hashtag men are trash trends all the time. And I mean, like, what? Someone explained to me how this has been allowed that to happen. And then when guys like us have conversations like this, we are misogynists, we're evil or whatever. That's my issue. And that's what I can find kinship with any traditional man, whether you're Christian, Israelite, Muslim, Jewish, whatever. If what you believe in gives you that masculine frame, we can agree on almost on everything that matters and a way to have us share this space.
And that's precise and concise and just factual, brother. Even when you look outside of the Bible, when you look in observable nature, right, the world is ran by men. So even if you raised your daughter to be an independent woman, she's going to be competing with the gender that runs the whole planet to start off with. These religious organizations make money off of single women because they don't have order and structure of the man to not spend all their money and shop on this and shop on that and go to places that put them in danger. So I mean, it's a lot that you could talk about, but just looking at little things, it's not about being a Christian or believing in the Bible at all. But if the Bible says a deacon has to be the husband of one wife, how can a woman be a deacon?
I told you,
if the Bible says that a bishop has to be the husband of one wife,
and dodge, they want to use every type of twisting and moving around. Like I said, do that, but you can twist the word all you want, but then just don't claim to be that. Make up your own, call it flobbity flute, make up your own little word. You know what I'm saying? But don't claim to be like, that would be like me saying that I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but then wearing a 49ers jersey and going, well, I'm the type of Eagles fan that wears a Niners jersey. That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? What are you even wearing the Eagles jersey for? So.
And the sad part about all of this, brother, you're not saying that they can't live their lives as feminists. We're not saying that. We're just saying the Bible doesn't stand on that.
Can you say effinist? Say effinist because of the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So
so you can't live your. So all I'm saying is, if you want to be a feminist, if you want to be an feminist, whatever you want to be, that's your choice to practice what you want to practice. But you can't look at me with a straight face and say you believe in the Bible and you have a problem with the Bible saying that the man is the head of the woman, or you have a problem with the Bible saying that the pastor
nowadays.
That's in the New Testament.
Because
I mean, you can't even argue, because most Christians make this argument, brother, that the law is done. I'm not going to say most Christians, because I know a lot of Christians that do believe you should keep the laws of Moses. You should honor your mother and father. You shouldn't bear false witness. So I'm not going to put that on Christians, because this is not about them, right? And I don't want to bring contention between us right now. What I'm saying is, you can't look at me with a straight face and say you believe in the Bible and you're a woman, but you have a problem with the New Testament saying the man is the head of the woman. It literally says that in 1 Corinthians 11:3, right? So my thing is to put the Bible down and go get you some wine and some coffee and just live your damn life and do bungee jump, sky jump, call yourself an atheist, do what you want to do, but stop looking at me with a straight goddamn face and lying to me. I'm sorry, brothers, I just got a little passionate because it's like, that's insulting. They're insulting people's intelligence.
Alex, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So does your church have a singles ministry?
Well, our church isn't really big enough for stuff like that.
What I mean, but have you seen churches that have singles ministry?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so like, I have a lot of friends who are Black women who are middle aged, and I asked them their singles ministry, like, what are you like if you're trying to be in a relationship and your goal is marriage? Because oftentimes, like I said, they spend their whole 20s, hot girl summer, blah blah blah, and then they hit 35. All of a sudden, they find Jesus, and then they're living this holy life. In the last 17 years, since they were 18, they were doing everything but that, right? Mm-hmm. Then they will be sitting in their singles ministries, and there's nothing but women there. And I'm like, how does that work?
Yeah,
that's that Jesus is my husband spirit. That's what that is. Because they don't want to listen to the Bible tell them to submit to a man, and you think you're gonna get to the Most High and you're not following his instructions. How you gonna talk to his father if you're not? How you gonna respect Yahweh Shai or Jesus if you don't respect what his father told you to do and find a goddamn husband?
Yeah, doesn't it go? It goes. It goes. God, man, woman, children. Right? Am I wrong?
Here we go.
It says the head of every man is Christ, right? So
Yeah,
Christ is
but
our
they want
head,
to
right?
skip the man
According to
part.
what
They
we
want to
believe,
skip
right?
that part.
And it says
Yeah,
the head of Christ is the Most High God, which would be the Father, Yahweh,
yeah,
right? Or who
yeah,
some call Yahweh,
yeah.
right?
But the
Guys,
biggest
look
And
at
then it
problem
says
is
the
they want to
head of
skip
the
the.
woman is the man.
Yeah, I understand, but they want to skip the man part. That's the problem, and it's crazy.
Yep.
Bro,
But guess what?
they trying to eliminate and ignore the principles of the Bible. Fundamentally, when you read from the first book to the last, women have the same exact role in the scriptures. It talked
But
about
here's the
how
thing.
Eve's desire is supposed to be to Adam, not to a PhD, not to a psychology degree, and not to a bunch
Yep.
of bitches who don't have a goddamn husband.
But here's the
I don't mean to
thing
use
is,
profanity.
yours. But here's the thing: all this foolishness to talk about, if there's a hurricane, if there's a train blowing up in Ohio, all of a sudden, all this effing stuff goes out the window. There is none of this stuff going on in the Ukraine right now. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sorry, I'll get yeeted off the internet. Sorry. But here, guys, check out the title of this video. You seeing this?
Yeah.
How I Married Jesus. Destroying my codependency on men. Let's just see what this knucklehead has to say.
Do what I did. It just means that we need to put him first. And he is the one who's going to love us unconditionally. No matter what, he will never leave you nor forsake you. He's never going to put you down, ever. Like the name of your youth, and remember no more.
AJ, pause it real quick.
The reason I have yet to kind of announce that, some people you're watching from right now, I think
Is
it's
she
like
gonna marry
here
herself?
in California. I'm in my car, it's super hot.
Snap. Have you guys seen? I made a video on this. Have you seen that these women are actually marrying themselves?
Yeah, I saw that. That was one of the most sad things I've ever seen.
That's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Guys, real quick. What would you do if one of your friends, and it's a woman, because they're female only things, and that's one of them. If a woman you knew or your sister or someone said, "Hey, I want you to show up at this time and date so I can marry myself," what would you do?
I would say, what is wrong with you?
And guys, I've had women say that they want to get inseminated and have a child by themselves and wanted to have a baby shower. I had to tell them I can't participate in that. I've had women ask me if I can donate my sperm to be the father of their children. I've had a woman who was a friend of mine ask me to do that.
That's clown
but I
world,
think
man.
but I think that marrying yourself
that is the most self-centered, narcissistic thing that I've ever heard in my entire
life.
And it's sad.
Yeah. Yep.
I would have had to tell her, based on the way my schedule is arranged, at this time I cannot participate in such an activity. Peace be with you and have a nice day.
Me if I get a little sweaty, but I like to come in here because it's a lot more quiet and private people. But I kind of just want to let you guys know how that process began and
I skipped
the
over
Lord, or how I'm
Here we go.
being in my home. But today I'm going to be telling the story about how I married the Lord, or how I married Jesus. And I know that's kind of...
Alex, help me, dude. Come on, man.
Look, so
tell us more about this story. Tell us more.
Alex is speechless over here.
Yeah. So my question would be, if you were unwilling to submit to a husband as you submit to Christ as part of his church, then how are you submitting to Christ, right? Going back to that passage, wives be subject to husbands as to the Lord. Well, hold on a second. I refuse to be subject to a husband, So is me being so you being subject to the Lord is going to look the exact same as you being subject to your husband. It's going to be non-existent, right? So it's it doesn't work that way.
The brother that's a Christian on the panel, isn't Jesus the Word?
Jesus, the Word, yeah. In the beginning was the
Doesn't the
Word.
Bible teach that Jesus is the Word, right? So in the book of Matthew, it says, "Blessed are them which are not offended in me," right? So if Christ is the Word and the Bible says, "Blessed are them which are not offended in me," it means he is from Genesis all the way to Revelation. So the scripture that tells you to honor the man as the head is Christ. The scripture that tells you if you take another wife, just don't put off the remnant and duty of your marriage to your first wife. That would be Christ, right? The script that the whole Bible is him. So how can she say she's married to the Lord when
Because
if he is the Word, she's rebelling against him? She doesn't even realize it.
Because whoever is in charge, whoever's in her circle, her dad, her pastor, whatever, they're basically drug dealers. They want to give her this good feeling that's going to keep her coming back over and over and over again, but it's not going to hold her to any standard, any type of accountability, and it's not going to tell her like, look, you need a man. Period. If you say that you are a Christian woman, just like Kevin Samuel said, your purpose on this planet is a man. So if you are not married or not with, there's something wrong. Now that might sound negative to say or whatever, but if you profess to believe in what the Bible says, then she is not living correctly. But wherever she goes to do this, because I guarantee she has some pamphlet or whatever that whoever her pastor was gave her, and this is a thing over there. This absolute clown world.
Off the wall.
That's why we have to hold people to the integrity of what they say they believe in.
Yeah, but
we
this
got to
is
hold them to
2023,
integrity,
man. This is 2023. I mean, you see the red pill space.
And you know what's sad, bro?
What's that?
You know what's sad, bro? Do you know in the Bible it says in the last days that 7 women gonna take hold of 1 man? Do you know all hell is about to break loose, sir, and that it's gonna be so chaotic that being a part of the ethist movement, which I call it the Mr. Smith movement, you know that could probably cost you your life in the last days.
You said, wait.
You know there's
Did
a
you
prophet
Mr.
that
Smith
says women
or
gonna humble down.
did you say Mr. Smith or the Agent Smith dude from the midget?
No, so me and my wife was watching this episode of Naked and Afraid, right?
Okay.
And there was this man who they had they put 2 women with 1 man, right? And one woman was, she had a flat top like Guile off a Street Fighter. You see what I'm saying? She was part of the feminist movement. She was part of that genre or school of thought, right? You could tell. And the other woman was really delicate, and she kind of carried herself like a natural woman, right? So the man didn't want to cuddle with the woman that was acting like Colonel Guile off of Street Fighter Alpha 5. And that's where I made up the term Mr. Smith. So a Mr. Smith is a woman who believes she can do everything a man can do.
Yeah.
Or who doesn't believe she needs a man.
Yo, in the same way that all these WNBA players want to say that they can beat men, isn't it crazy that we live in a society that has so many obstacles in the way to actually putting an NBA team out there against a WNBA team? Think about it. They can talk all the mess that they want.
How many points you think Michael Jordan would average against the best NBA, the best WNBA team? How many points you think he would average?
Yeah, and people say that, oh, AJ, you're a misogynist or whatever. But I want to see all these women who are talking all this big mess, right? You want to be in the WNBA, an NBA player in your WNBA? Fine, get out there and try. I want to actually see. Let's integrate all sports. How about that?
Yep.
And then there will be no women's sports anymore at all.
Well, we're already seeing it.
Seriously,
right? We're already seeing it.
The thing about that is like women. I don't know one guy that's down for that whole Transformers. You gotta say Transformers. Yeah, because YouTube will flag it. So I don't know one man who's down for Transformers and women's sports, but men can't say anything because
but on the flip side, though,
but women want to be inclusive and give everything away. I don't understand it. Why?
And the craziest part too is, guys, we aren't afraid of Transformer men coming into our sports because we whip them. There's
Bro,
nothing that they can do.
bro, I'm a third-degree black belt. I've been in 14 kickboxing matches, and I've won 13 of them. And I've been in a few MMA fights. Man, if they came out there with me, I would have fun beating the dog shit out of
He hit
their
him.
ass. Oh my
He hit
goodness!
him with the hurricane kick. You know what I'm saying? But here, let's
I'll be out there dropping that sat dude right on that chin.
But, I kind of just want to let you guys know how that process began and how I took a step.
So, real quick, this is just stubbornness and self-centeredness. Because saying that a lot of women can't handle the fact that men control access to relationships, and then men are not Ken dolls. We aren't this hair with no genitals, right? Like, we're not dogs, we are people. So women now have such bad relationship skills that having to concede anything to a guy is considered to be, codependent. He's asking, is it too much? Blah, blah, blah.
Forward in doing that and what that really looked like for me personally. And I'm going to also go ahead and read off some scripture as well.
Oh, here we go.
Before I start, I just want to properly introduce myself. I feel like I have yet to do that. My name is Gabriela Renee, and this is an online ministry. The reason I have yet to kind of announce that is because I wasn't really sure if that's what it was, but I'm figuring out now that the Lord is having this be an online ministry. So I'm blessed to have you guys here. I'm blessed for the ones who have watched all my videos.
So she's an online female pastor now, guys.
And for the ones who actually get value out of what Holy Spirit is sharing and the wisdom that he's so graciously put in me to just pour out to you guys and not be a reservoir, but to be a river. And so I'm blessed to be doing that today. When I'm going through my story, this will probably be speaking to a lot of women. It does pertain to men, but it will...
Of course it speaks to a lot of women.
Probably speak more to the women who have felt like they need to be so dependent on a man. And I'm here to tell you today that the man that you need to be dependent on is Jesus.
Brother, can you stop the video for just one moment, please? Can you stop the video for just one moment, please? You know what's so crazy about this, right? Could you imagine if women had to stop using everything that men invented and that they had to go out into the woods and create their own society?
Yes. Yep.
Put the cell phone down, get the hell out of the apartment I built, don't wear the shoes that I made. Could you imagine if they had to only use the stuff they made?
Man, that would be crazy. And you know what the best part is? What Top G said. Free Top G, by the way. Top G said that feminism is so funny because it's the only movement that can't be defended. Because all like Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, or whatever, there's men to defend it. Feminism, if you were to take all the feminist women and line them up and then line up all of us traditional men, it wouldn't even be a contest. So think of any movement that relies on convincing those stronger than them to fight against their own interests, and that's feminism.
Beloved, where I'm at in Minnesota, I could find 20 Mr. Smiths to name 5 WNBA players off the links who are multiple-time champions. They don't even show up to the game. They don't even support them. It'd be us up in there watching basketball and watching them.
Yep.
And you can't get paid the same money as Michael Jordan, ma'am, because you can't fly from the free throw line. It's not hard. You're not exciting to watch.
The WNBA loses $12 million every year, guys, and there's like 400 and something women on the whole like roster total. They were saying that they don't want equal pay; they want their equal share of the revenue, right? They would all owe, I think, because like at the end of each year, they would all owe like $65,000 or whatever at the end of the year. If that was true, if what they wanted to happen, they would owe money every year to the NBA. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't want people to misunderstand our position right now on this panel. Women that fight in MMA, that fight in boxing, is very highly seen. They get paid a lot of money because it attracts the people. So it's not just necessarily women in sports. It's just that in that particular sport, y'all are not exciting to watch compared to the men.
Tennis players. Serena Williams said, "Look, why am I not getting paid as much at Wimbledon as the men. And they went to and they did an audit and saw that even though Serena Williams and then play less sets, the revenue is the same. So guess what? They got paid the same. And here's the thing that, man, you got me angry now. Did you see that the U.S. men's team had to give half their money to the women's team this year?
That's a terrible example of equality. That's an oxymoron. That's not equality.
Alex,
that's terrible. That's men showing favor to women. Yeah. That's what that is.
Alex, you're a very calm guy. You're very reserved compared to let's just say that we Thanos snapped and all of a sudden you were like Lionel Messi good at soccer. Would you play for the men's U.S. team knowing that half your winnings were going to go to the women?
Well, it'd be a lot harder. It'd be a lot harder pill to swallow. But compared to my standard of living, compared to half of what a professional soccer athlete makes, I'd play for a year and then call it quits. But I know what you mean, right?
But remember, soccer players, United States, don't get paid a lot. So oftentimes the World Cup is the only way for the U.S. men's soccer players to make a good chunk of money.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's partiality. It's it's completely unfair. It's completely unjust. Someone shouldn't get something from someone else
that
just
they didn't earn.
Just because of the supposed societal downsides to it, right? And that's where we get into things that I'm not allowed to talk about, like the whole reparation scheme and things like that. Where people, based on external things, feel as if they're owed from people based on external things. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it, but here, let's just jump back.
Man, that will ever fill the voids in your heart and take away the insecurities. And, he will take your eyes off of men of the world. And what I mean by that is you won't
see, and there you go, guys. And there's where you end up with what Kevin Samuels called femcells. So they have incels, and those are these men that can't really get any. What you end up having is femcells, and there are these women that are so bad with picking men and bad with men, they end up just not. That they get married to the church, and then they end up. There's one girl Kevin Samuels talked to. She had been with one man once from age 19 to 43. And she's like, I'm waiting in the church. He's like, you know how not normal that is to spend all those years by yourself? And this is what she's telling women to do. And not understanding that you got that biological time clock. Once you're 35, 30, 39, that's a wrap. But she's take your eyes off the men of the world. That makes perfect sense.
Be so latched onto them in a way where you feel like you can't live without them, because that used to be me. And that's why I'm sharing this story. I've personally been in relationships since I was 12 years old up until like 19 to 20. So I'm 22 now. But I remember that state of finally giving up the relationship life and giving my whole
guys, let's just skip ahead real fast.
Do you guys have any, rings here at all? She was like, yeah, we have some on the counter right here. There's, a little here in the middle of it.
Oh, and that's funny
too.
Anyways, that the lady who married herself bought herself a ring because she made herself. So
I'm just so happy.
Bro, I actually feel bad for her.
Yeah, I can't even watch this anymore.
I'm so done.
Yeah,
I'm so done.
I mean, not to belittle her or nothing like that. It's really sad.
I'll belittle her.
Because
I'll judge.
I'll
belittle.
Yeah,
I'm petty, bro.
See,
petty
Alex,
all day.
See, both of you guys, look, yeah, look. People, I'm one of those where I will sink to someone's level. I live the petty life around here. I live the petty life. It's the only life I know. I'm just playing.
To content of thy heart and judge harshly.
But the thing
is, I just wanted to say this, Fed. Do you know scientifically? Do you know even according to DNA science that a woman can only be traced back to the Y chromosome of man that she descended from? For example, right? if I married a woman that descends from a man that comes from a different Y chromosome than me, right? Do you know that our child would still inherit my Y chromosome? So even according to science and nature, men establish genealogies. I mean, it's not just a biblical thing. Men have ran the world since the world has been in existence.
Well,
It's not just a biblical thing. If I read the definition of kinsman right now, right, it says ancestry, a race or bloodline, and then it also mentions especially a man. It's referring to the fact that men actually establish the bloodline, right? So if I married a woman that was a white woman, my children are still from a black seed line. If a black woman marries a man that's a so-called white man, right, the children still come from a European Y chromosome. So we got to get away from emotional science and we got to start dealing with facts and not what make people feel good.
There was a clip, I don't know if anyone saw it, where these women were saying, I can't, where that men came from women because Jesus was born from Mary, so therefore God favored women more. Some foolishness. Doug, MPA, do you remember that? I'm trying to find that clip right now, but they will seriously, was it dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge? Every reason to try and twist stuff around. I can't find this clip, but
AJ, do you know in the book of Genesis, when it talks about creation, AJ, do you know in the book of Genesis, it describes the creatures and the plants and man all descending from his kind and he? Do you know that even our plants are descendants of the men they descend from, or the male version of their plants, even the animals? So how can she stand on the Bible and say that? If she's saying she's an atheist, she's skydiving, she doesn't believe in the Bible, it's one thing for her to say something like that outside of the Bible, right? But according to the Bible, the male establishes the genealogy even in plants and animals and everything that's alive on earth.
Alex, what is the craziest like ethnicist Christian thing that you've ever heard? And then I'll ask you next. Alex, what is like the most foolish thing that you've ever heard anyone say that you can actually articulate on YouTube?
I have to say, brothers, that you guys introduced me to Christian Mr. Smith, so this is kind of a new thing for me. So I'm gonna let the brothers speak on it, and then I'll come back. But I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Christian Mr. Smith.
Yeah,
Alex, go ahead.
I'll talk about something it's related to all of it, and I'm sure there's something, if I sat down long enough, I'd be able to come up with something crazy. But I think one of the most damaging things has to do with the M2 movement and then the view of women, and it's the idea that if there is some form of adulterous relationship, and because the man is in a higher position of power, it's actually grape, right? And there's all kind, huh?
What? That's crazy.
Well, and here I'll give you an example of where in the Bible they try to pull this out, right? The story of David and Bathsheba. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But David,
bring it out, brother. Bring it out.
He has an adulterous affair with Bathsheba, but the argument that they'll make is, because David was king and because he's in a position of power over her, he actually graped her. And now they're trying to apply it to all kinds of various sexual scandals within Christianity, basically to where the woman can get off scot-free and the man is further demonized. So that's
there was no woman in the Bible, beloved, that actually has a spot in the kingdom of heaven according to the Bible. Do you know the Bible says that David is a man after the Lord's own heart, and he is the only person mentioned that has an inheritance in the kingdom of heaven? The nerve of that woman. Go ahead.
Well, but it's all about power, and like I said, if you are pro male, or pro father's rights, if you are pro traditional roles, which is funny because they label that as being bad, but women benefit more from guys that have our mindset than guys who don't. Isn't that crazy? to think about, that they'll take this conversation not knowing that we're arguing for traditional roles that say to protect women, right?
Mhm.
And if you're going to take on a wife, provide for her and make sure that her life is easier, right?
Yeah.
That's negative, or that's misogyny, whatever, and it just makes society in the clown world. That's all it is.
Yeah, the call
And-
for the husband
and
is
you
to
know
lay down
what, AJ?
his life for his wife. Sorry, go ahead.
Right, but this is a wife that's a virtuous woman. This is a wife that honors her husband as the head. You
There
don't
you
do that
go.
to
And
a
those are in
modern
short
woman.
supply. That's true. That's true. That man, I gotta give you. Yeah, that is in short supply these days. And you guys want to hear something funny? Is this? There's a young guy, Mighty Jim. He's I have to call him. He's a black mountain man, right? Because he's from the hood, but he likes to go like hiking and kayaking and all of that, man. And I told him, I said, look, man, you need to get on your little dating app and turn all of your settings to conservative, whether you are or not. You need to say that you are the orange man loving, gun toting, pro-lifest guy there is. And he did it, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, all these blue-haired, LGBT looking women are all gone, and now there's nothing but like thin, cute, nice, traditional girls who we can date and go out with, and they actually want to not buck up against him and scream and yell in his face. You know what I'm saying? It's just all about values, and some values have worked for since time immemorial, and all this new stuff, guys. And I know that we've been going a while, so we can close out soon. But guys, all this news crap that we're doing. Okay, a couple things. What we're doing, the West is a very small part of the world, right? Population-wise, the UK, Europe, Canada, it's the minority of the world. Now, we might have more power, economic power, but population-wise, we are a small minority. And what we showed about the World Cup and the whole like no alphabet flag thing, most of the world doesn't agree with what we're trying to do here. Number two, this is a small part of history. It's only been the last 40 years that we've been trying this crazy experiment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at all the countries that are growing, India, Brazil, they're still doing things the way they used to do. And number three, the arrogance, the hubris to think that in the last 50 years that we've figured out more than what's been working for the last couple thousand years. Think about how crazy us in the small part of the West think that we can undo everything that's got us to where we are, and we just know better. The arrogance there. And it's not working. It isn't. So, but yeah, Archie, you guys say, let's go through some closing statements and we'll shut it down. Who wants to start first?
Well, I suppose I can just kind of close out and finish my piece. I'm looking at this as a Christian from a Christian perspective, and I see, we all recognize the same problems, right? And what I think, the Bible and Christianity, again, not to put anyone down, but the Bible has talked about this, right? This stuff isn't new. The solutions aren't new. They're there. They're built in. And as a Christian, especially when I see this stuff in the church, it really is concerning, because it's like, hold on a second. We should know better, right? If we really do believe this book like we say we do, then we won't be falling into this. But from my perspective, it just goes to show it's either going to be, you're going to have one of two things. You're going to have Christ, or you're going to have chaos. And I think we're seeing a lot of the chaos. And I think that's something that we all recognize, is the chaos that is happening as a result of going against it. And again, I'm not saying that you necessarily have to become a Christian to recognize these, or to work for the right solutions. But Yeah, I guess that's kind of my piece. You know, we see the issue, and we see the direction we're going, and what I see is, you know, there are answers that are there. They're not too difficult to find, but yeah, I guess that's my piece.
Okay. Who's next?
I'll go ahead and go next. I just wanted to say, brothers, that, or even some of the sisters that might be watching too, I just wanted to say that King David being a king is not the reason why it was okay for him to have wives and concubines. In the law, it tells you what to do when you take another wife. It tells you that you can't ignore the wife that you already have, and that you have to fulfill the duty of a husband to all of your wives. So it's not just because King David was a king. You don't have to have a king to not transgress the law and have another wife. So cheating is when a married man sleeps with a woman that's already married to another man. But if a married man makes a marriage or consummates a marriage with a woman that didn't belong to another man, he has established a second wife. So this monogamy is a new thing in the earth, family, and you don't have to agree with it. I know a lot of sisters who acknowledge that it's true, but because of the way society has trained their minds, they still struggle with the idea. But we have to look at what people are saying, who they're saying they are, and what they believe in. And if they're not holding fast to what they say they believe in, then that's a huge red flag. To the brother on the panel that's a Christian, you have to go and get the certifications that you need, sir, and you have to start your own congregation, sir, because Christianity has been infiltrated by a lot of different things. So you got to stand on the Bible on your own and start your own congregation, brother.
No, Alex is a pastor. He has his own congregation, right, Alex?
So you just got to make sure you're teaching your flock the right way. You see what I'm saying? But I know it's frustrating to see the other Christian organizations act that way. I'm sure it is frustrating to see them act like that.
Guys, look at real fast, and then Doug and Jay can go. Look at the title of this video. All right, okay. Doug MPA, you want to have your last words here? Doug MPA, you still there? Okay,
I'm here.
Yeah, last words. I mean, closing words, not last words, right?
Yeah, I know you and Alex started the stream. I'm hoping that you can start diving into this kind of stuff because, we need people that are well versed in the actual teachings and that have experience to start like red pill philosophy is essential to all men who want to make something of themselves, but it's good when you have allies that are religiously trained to be able, because there are guys looking for direction and looking for for mentorship and in all walks of life. Even there are plenty of guys walking around in these churches saying, why is this all crazy? You know what I'm saying? And it's good to have guys like Alex that can prescribe to the basic tenets of like red pill stuff and be versed in the religious aspect too. So thanks, Alex, for opening your mind. And then Yahweh, thanks for being here too. I really appreciate it.
You know what? I appreciate you guys for having me. And the next time I come on the panel, AJ and MPA, I'm gonna just sit back in the cut. And if they say something that's not fundamentally sound scripturally, you can just say, "Hey, Yahweh, is they keeping it 100?" And I'm gonna just bring out the definition and the sources, and I can go into the languages and all of that. So I'm gonna just sit back, and if y'all got questions about what they saying and what the Bible's saying, I'll be more than happy to present the information to you, brothers.
So I want to kind of end on this. Is look at us four. So we all have different backgrounds, different beliefs, but we're all here because we see the insidiousness of what's going on, right? Of men, we see what's going on to put men in a certain place, and we don't like it, right? Right? Because we know what's going to happen ultimately, right? And I always say that, like red pill, one of the things is it teaches you when you take the red pill, you're aware of reality, and also what it does is it helps you goal set, and you have to have the tools to succeed. And the more people that you know, different backgrounds, like Alex, Howard, Doug, MPA, you guys are tools that can be used to help other men, put the pieces together and actually win. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to come at this problem from all different angles. We have to use different tools to build this foundation to kind of fight against this foolishness. Because I'm telling you, you guys have probably heard this. Religion has been weaponized against men. Weaponized. And for those who aren't as well read as you two are, Alice, how they don't have the ability to fight back. So just hearing, people as well studied as you both really helps put that out there. You know what I'm saying? And really helps to arm these men to say, look, no, you're wrong. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of my whole mission with this channel, is just spreading, regardless of what your faith, color, creed is. Look, if you believe in a strong masculine frame in traditional roles, succeeding, helping those around you succeed, then we can all, coexist, break bread, have great conversations, and all of that. And anyone else who has a problem with it, this is not the channel for them. But I appreciate you guys. I really do. I know that it's late on a Wednesday, so you guys will have another live soon. And yeah, this is AJay, guys, and I am out of here. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks.
Peace and blessings to the panel. All you brothers, stay safe out there.
Yep.